Then move from
Uncle Jobson family, you're listening to the Voices of My Aunt with Queen Mother Initiative Aset Akua Kitty Haru from the Temple of Het Haru, where our founder is Baba Saba Amari Sneferu. Okay, family, on every show before we start, I will say a Hesi, which is a chant. And first, I will speak the chant in Metaneture, and then I will translate it into English. Pa netter ampu pa maat, ank wise dejeb, ank unja seneb, uben nefer akar pa inbu haru maat. In English, that translates to how sweet is the truth, life, power, stability, life, prosperity, and health, rising always in divine excellence with my aunt all day, every day. Ashe.
Ashe.
Now,
And now,
King Metu, would you go ahead and deliver the oath to the ancestors?
okay, this is the ode to the ancestors that was given to us by the Republic of New Africa, written in the 1970s. O ancestors, blacker than the skies of Nut at midnight, pyramid builders and great ancient priests, warriors and mystic scientists, give us the inspiration to fight 1,000 lions. Give us the enlightenment to unravel the mysteries of the universe. Give us the substance to travel through the trackless swamps of disharmony. May the Ka, spirit of our African ancestors, fly on the wings of Ra for eternal life. O ancestors, praise be your African name. Amen Ra. Yes, right now, family, we're going to do a libation. We've been doing it for countless thousands of years as an African tradition. Just give homage to our ancestors, and whenever you speak your ancestors' name, you bring them back into your presence. Uh, Brother Nat Turner,
Ashe. Dr. Francis Cress Wilson.
Ashe. Our brother Denmark Vesey,
Ashe. Queen Nefertari.
Ashe. Our brother King Hannibal,
Ashe. Queen Nzinga.
Ashe. Our brother Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad,
Ashe. Queen Harriet Tubman.
Ashe. Our brother Dr. John Henry Clark,
Ashe. Queen Sojourner Truth.
Ashe. To our brother Toussaint Louverture,
Ashe. Queen Annie Malone.
Ashe. And our good brother, the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey,
Ashe. Queen,
Ashe.
Queen Ophelia Briggs.
Ashe.
That happens to be my awesome grandmother.
Ashe. Ashe. Ashe.
And now, family, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about our topic for today. And that topic is going to be the fear of white discomfort. Let me repeat that again so it can sink into your soul. The fear of white discomfort. With that being said, King Metu, could you explain your version of how you feel, or just give us a in sync explanation of how you feel about the fear of white discomfort?
Yeah, it's a very powerful topic. It stems back from slavery. A lot of the stuff that we go through now, it still comes back from slavery because we have not diagnosed it, recognized it, or even gave attention to the impact and the injury of slavery. So whatever white people fear, we fear ourselves as well because of that discomfort. So a lot of things that we end up getting as a people, we get it from a lot of times we get it from Europeans, and we feel like making white people uncomfortable will make them take whatever I have from me. They'll take it from me. So we kind of leery on the certain subjects like racism. We don't want to talk about it. With slavery, we don't want to talk about it because it make white people uncomfortable. Because it's so much stuff that they have done to us that they rather you just know it and not talk about it. And those are some things we just really have to unpack as a people privately so that we can be able to come back into the world a sane people. But we're not talking about it. We have to stop being afraid of talking about what makes white people uncomfortable. It's about you healing and not about making other people happy.
Right. And with that being said, Divine, what I want to include is I had stumbled over an activity from a book called Slavery, the African American Psyche Trauma. And in that book, they have a small activity that a family, you could go ahead and take that test, and it kind of gives you a view of where you're at as far as having a psychic trauma as far as slavery. And so what we're going to do today, we're going to go ahead and demonstrate the activity. And I'm going to be asking Divine Metu Hotep, I'm going to be asking him about 21 questions. And within those 21 questions, he will give his answer. The scores are from 4 to 0. And let me explain the score system. So 4 is strongly agree, 3 is agree, 2 is unsure, 1 is disagree, and 0 is strongly disagree. And so Divine Metu, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so number 1, while watching an African American being interviewed on a television program, when I noticed that the person is using incorrect grammar with a very heavy Black dialect, I get embarrassed. Would you give that?
Agree.
Okay, so you would give that a 4. You strongly agree.
Strongly agree.
All right.
I feel some type of way about that, and because I understand how Europeans they paint us all with the same brush, but we very careful about painting them with the same brush. That's kind of crazy as well. But by us knowing that white people paint us all with the same brush, when I see us acting a fool, they will look at that one black person and spread it around us all, and that kind of make me like, oh, okay, you probably know, kind of watch what you're saying.
Okay, let's move on, brother, to number 2. When speaking to whites, I consciously try to alter my grammar and pronunciation so that I sound more like them, proper. Would you give that
disagree.
A 4, a 3, a 2, a 1, or a 0?
I strongly disagree.
Okay, that would be a 0. Number 3, when stopped by a white police officer in traffic, I feel fearful.
I disagree.
Okay. Number 4, when I hear an African American leader speaking forcefully or aggressively, I feel uncomfortable.
I strongly disagree.
Number 5, when a white man wearing a business suit speaks to me in an authoritative tone, I have difficulty looking him in the eye.
I strongly disagree.
Okay, number 6, when competing with whites, whether in business or on the job or academically, I believe they will probably perform better than I.
I disagree.
Okay, number 7, when I go to events where I am the only Black person in attendance, I feel self-conscious.
I agree.
8, I believe I would further be along in my career if I were white.
I strongly disagree.
Number 9, I hesitate to take on certain professional responsibilities because I don't believe I have the ability to master them.
Strongly disagree.
Okay, number 10, if I were to suddenly lose my present means of employment, I think I would have great difficulty surviving.
Strongly disagree.
Number 11, when a member of the opposite sex whom I want to attract sees my hair before it is pressed or permed, I feel embarrassed and attractive.
I disagree.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I feel embarrassed and unattractive. Let me repeat that again. When a member of the opposite sex whom I want to attract sees my hair before it is pressed or permed, I feel embarrassed or unattractive. Is that a 4, 3, 2, 1, or 0?
1.
Okay. Number 12, I think I would be more attractive if my skin were a few shades lighter.
I give it a 0. I strongly
0.
disagree.
Okay. 13, the people I find most attractive tend to have lighter skin and curly or straightened hair. Brother, will you give that a 4, a 3, a 2, a 1, or a 0?
0.
Okay. 14, when a white member of the opposite sex finds me attractive, I consider it a greater compliment than when a black member of the opposite sex finds me attractive. Let me repeat that again, Divine, so it can sink in. When a white member of the opposite sex finds me attractive, I consider it a greater compliment than when a black member of the opposite sex finds me attractive.
I get it a 4.
Okay. 15, I feel resentment when I see an attractive black member of the opposite sex romantically involved with a white person of my sex.
A 3.
Okay. 16, I feel that I am more attractive than my darker skinned associates.
A 1.
All right, moving along. 17, when I see Africans in films expressing their own cultural rituals and activities, I see them as repulsive.
0.
All right, number 18, I think blacks who were brought to America from Africa became more civilized than those who remained in Africa.
0.
Okay, 19, when I consider traveling abroad to become more cultured, my first choice is a place in Europe, such as Paris or London, rather than a place in Africa.
0.
Okay, number 20, I found myself defensively making excuses for my answers as I filled out this questionnaire. That's very important. So I'm going to repeat number 20. I found myself defensively making excuses for my answers as I filled out this questionnaire.
I give it a 1.
Okay, so that was 20 questions for that activity. So what I'm going to do, family, is I'm going to go ahead and total the points up. Okay, so Divine Metsu, he received a score of 19, family, and they give you a scoring system from 0 all the way up to 61 through 80. So in our Divine Metsu's case, he scored a 19. So it says, you have taken some steps toward developing a positive self-image. However, your attitudes are still affected by racial prejudice in the society. So family, we just wanted to give you just a little example and an activity of how you can quickly go ahead and measure if the slavery caused any type of psychic trauma in your life and the lives of your family members. Ashe?
Ashe, so you're saying according to that test, I'm still psychologically injured from the effects of slavery?
Yes, I mean, what it says is that, you know, you kind of on your way, Divine, but even with that being said, your attitude is still affected, okay, by the racial prejudice in the society, even though you have developed a positive self-image about your Africanism and who you are, but you still got a little work to do. Ashe?
Okay, Ashe. So, what are your thoughts about black people trying to make white people comfortable? What are your thoughts? You know, the fear of white discomfort. What is Do you have a fear of white discomfort? And all-
Um,
and if and then the second question is, how do you feel about the terminology, the fear of white discomfort?
well, actually, Divine, I personally don't think I have a fear of white discomfort because I'm very comfortable around my white counter point. I mean, I'm very comfortable expressing, how I feel on any level. Whether that be talking about white supremacy, if I have a white individual and they trying to ask me about some information, I don't have a problem being comfortable about the way I feel. It doesn't matter if they agree or disagree. I'll be respectful in my delivery, but at the same time, I'm not going to try to put on errands or, if it's the truth, it's the truth, and I'm comfortable with saying that. Um,
So you're not into bucking your eyes and tap dance for white folks.
oh, not not at all, brother. No, no, sir. But
Yeah, we have a lot of tap dancers out here.
right,
Candace
but
Owens and Jesse Lee Peterson is too. They just love to just they don't want to rock the boat
right, but also let me say
completely.
this, Divine. Let me say this. I think that some of our people are kind of uncomfortable because they don't know how divine they are within themselves. See, when you've been taught since you came out of your mother's womb that you're sinful and that you're not great and you're never going to amount to anything, that type of low self-esteem, which you already kind of received in your mother's womb, especially if she was that type of queen. So that starts like in the womb, and when you come out, you pretty much have already you're in a situation whereas you already have some fear or some discomfort.
What you're
And it
saying is
isn't.
that fear has been rehearsed before you got here.
Absolutely. It has been rehearsed through, your parents, your dad, your mom, they got together, they had you. However, if your mom uh consciously or unconsciously felt that, then she's feeding that to her baby, she's feeding that to her child. So even before you come out the womb, is if it's that situation, it will already be in you before you even like get on to the universe. A lot of people don't think about that, but it's just like when a mom reads to her child. If you constantly read, and I just don't mean any type of literature, but if you read intelligent, knowledgeable literature to your child in the womb, when that child comes out, that child is probably going to be more capable and more ready to open up some knowledgeable books and get busy. You see what I'm saying? So
Okay.
go ahead, brother.
No, I agree with you. I'm listening.
So I think that and then what happens is when you make it here and as a little child, if you're not told that, you're beautiful, you're smart, you're handsome, you can be anything that you want to be. If you made to feel like white people have it better or they have some type of superiority, then that's how you're going to pretty much run your life until you're able to get around individuals who maybe, teach you that, hey, that's not where it is. You're great. Your ancestors are great. We're divine. So, a lot of that just stems from, the way we were brought up and the experiences that we had when we were a child.
So my
And
next question becomes, uh, have you ever had a fear or white discomfort coming up?
um, I think maybe in my younger years, maybe when I was like 20 or 21, and before I was like totally sure of myself, I was when I would go into places where employment, like I had a job at Lord and Taylor or Sears or some other type of place where I guess I did when I got around the white people, I wouldn't sound the same way I would around my peers or my family. I always just kind of not really try to speak proper like them, but of course I wouldn't use the same dialect that I use in my comfort zone when I'm around my friends and my family, you know. And then I had this thing about saying finna, you know, because I just don't like the word. It's not a word. And so as I got older, I just completely took finna out of my vocabulary. It wasn't
Well,
because I
finna is a word. Finna,
was,
gotta, wanna. It's a word.
yeah, but it's a word, but it's just a word that I personally, just personally, I'm uncomfortable with.
So
You know,
so
like
it's
if you would
so it's
hold on
still
for a
like a
second.
psychological fear of wondering or worrying about what white, because every word is a made up word, no matter
Right.
what word it is. So you're saying that at that point in your life, you kind of cared what white people thought about the things you said.
No, I
So
didn't
you
say that.
corrected it.
No,
I'm
Divine, hold
asking
on.
you.
No, I didn't let's be clear. What I said was when I was younger, I would be concerned for me how I was sounding when I would go to work, you know, because I feel like it's a time to, and I don't really think that has anything to do with white, because even around Black people that I worked around, I wasn't as jargon based like I would be if I was at home or if I was in my neighborhood.
So you use finna around black people, but not around white people.
I don't use finna, period. I used to use finna
Why not?
because I don't feel like that's an appropriate word for me personally. But what I'm telling you in this case, as far as white discomfort, it has nothing to do with white discomfort. I mean, even when I used to teach, I would not like for my students to say, you finna go to the bathroom, or we finna go outside to play. Because I just personally don't think it's appropriate. It has nothing to do with the way a white person will feel about it. I don't care if you
That sounds like an unconscious fear. Like, you say that they won't give you anything. They will deny you because you using improper words. You're using words that wasn't prescribed to you by white people.
right. Well, that's fine if it sounds like that. I'm not really gonna debate about whether or not how it sounds. I'm just telling you personally how I feel about it. But with that being said,
So having knowledge of self brought you out of that fear.
absolutely, absolutely. But with that being said, what we want to focus on, family, we have two particular elements. We already kind of talked about slavery and also religion as far as fear of white discomfort. So I'm going to go ahead and let our divine Metu Hotep talk about slavery and religion and more specifics as related to the fear of white discomfort. Go ahead, divine.
Okay. See, the mind is an associating organism. So if you paint God white and you show me a white man, by default, what our mind will say is the white God is white, the white man is white, the white man is God. So you don't want to do anything that would make God upset in the presence of white people. So we'll do things for free because we thinking for white people, we do things for free for white people because we think that if I do this for him, God's going to see this and I'm going to get blessed even more. That's a psychological trauma that they hit us with when it comes to this religion. It made us fear and deify other people other than respecting and deifying our own. And then our definition of God or whatever what people call God, it was the family. So you deify the family. So with that kind of belief system in our head, in our psyche, you did nothing to destroy the family. So we have to really dive deeper into a lot of stuff. There's a real good book to read by I'm Dr. Naeem Akbar. It's called Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery because religion is one of the biggest blows. Because if somebody can make you deify them and then look down on yourself, you're going to be a perpetual slave to them. And you would just have this fear that you don't even know where it comes from. Some of the most thuggish, so-called thuggish black men out here will rah rah and talk all this stuff amongst each other, but get around white people, they'll get so quiet you can hear a rat piss on cotton, and it's just amazing to see how the fear of what they're gonna do to us You're not afraid of what they'll do to you for doing to each other, because that's cool in ours. See, we have white supremacy prescription glasses, and we got to take those off.
Okay,
So a lot of stuff
tell me, Divine, tell me what you mean by, you said what kind of prescription glasses?
white supremacy's prescription glasses.
That's
So we
deep,
see
Divine.
we see everything through the lenses of them. So you don't even have the power to see from yourself. Our brother Dr. Wade Noble said, "Power is the ability to define someone's reality and make them accept it as if it were their own." So our definition of love, even the people that we choose to have a relationship with, is based on someone else's subscription. And we have to really get away from that. We got to start to look at things and say, wait a minute, let's question everything, because our open enemy has never told us the truth. So everything that they tell us, we have to start questioning it with an analytical thought pattern and say, wait a minute, this is not working. We suffer from analysis of paralysis, cognitive dissonance, and all the other diagnoses. But we have to start to learn who we are, understand what happened to us, so that we can start to repair it. You can't repair nothing you don't want to talk about.
Right. And so
Like, we don't want to talk about that's actually that's not years ago. A lot of times people say 500 years ago. It's not 500 years ago. It's 500 plus. Jim Crow was slavery. All they did was change the name. It's the same game, new name. The prison industrial complex is slavery. The 13th Amendment says slavery and involuntary servitude is abolished in America except as a punishment for crime. So you commit a crime, by law, they can treat you like a slave. So when did slavery change? Dr. John Henry Clark said slavery didn't change. It was just slavery didn't end. It just was transformed.
right, right. He often said that and also our Dr. Ben said that they took the chains, all physically took the chains off of us, but then they had already had our mind by then, so they didn't even need any change necessarily.
Yeah, we was happy that they took the chains off us, but we completely forgot why they put the chains on you. There's
Right,
a reason why they put the chains. Just like there's an African story about this big elephant. They captured this elephant. They tortured him, took him away from his family, didn't feed him, malnutrition, beat him, just did him wrong. This big elephant chained him up, and then after so long, they got his brain to where now the same white man that tortured him and did so much wrong to him can walk the elephant comfortably down the street with a rope around his neck
wow. So, brother,
because
let me
they
ask you
behind.
this, Divine. Let me ask you this. So, do we assert that if we even suggest to even our family or our uh, white people about returning to our ancestors' spirituality, Kemetic spirituality, or any form of African spirituality, do we assert that most of us would be uncomfortable or having a fear of how that would make a white person feel?
It's not about telling them about what you're trying to do. It's about you doing what you have to do. They wouldn't want you to do that in the first place. So why would you tell them, hey, hey, Mr. Thompson, I'm getting ready to learn more about myself. How you feel about that?
Right. And I'm saying specifically when they ask you, because they will ask you. So
It's not like business. It's
oftentimes,
just like they got us thinking that black love is white hate. Black love is not white hate. You know what I'm saying? Every time you try to focus on us, they always want to divert. It's like, for an example, uh, you bump your leg and your leg start hurting. You like, man, somebody hurt me, my leg is hurting. And then they'll turn around and say, wait a minute, my leg is hurting too. You're like, whoa, what they got to do with, so just like when people say Black Lives Matter, the rebuttal to that is all lives matter. So that means yours don't matter. So you got to understand these word plays and
right,
really,
that cancels us out if you say that.
right. You know what I'm saying? My back hurt.
Right,
Could you help me with my back problem? I can't. Well, what about my back?
right,
So you're
right.
telling me, okay, you don't care about mine. So those are things cynical things that they do and say that we really have to just start addressing, because if one of us said that to us, we'll have something to say about that. You'll
Right.
get upset like, man, you been inconsiderate. But when white people say, you say, oh, okay, I understand what he's talking about
Right.
because you
So,
don't want to make them upset.
right. So, Divine, with all that being said, do we have any solutions or suggestions on how we could conquer um, the fear of white discomfort? Because how I feel as though, just like there's a fear of white discomfort, I also think there's a fear with them with black discomfort. But we're on the topic of a fear of white discomfort. But even with that being said, do we have any suggestions for our family out there in the audience of how they could tackle or handle or even begin to admit to that you do have a fear of white discomfort, which doesn't mean that you can't get past that, but do you personally have any suggestions on how to work on that?
Very few. I'll give you a few books. Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery is a very good book to read to really see what really happened. It's a good book called Kill Them Before They Grow by Michael Porter. He goes into the school system. He talks about how they're killing the spirit of the child before they become an adult. You have
Now, who is that author, Divine? Say that author again and say the name of that book slowly so the
the name.
audience can get it.
The name of the book is called Kill Them Before They Grow,
Wow.
and the name of the author is Dr. Michael Porter.
Okay,
Uh,
so family, get that book.
then you
Okay.
also have Post Traumatic Slave Syndrome by Joy DeGruy. That gives a good diagnosis. You have The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander and White Rage by Carl Anderson and The Color of Law. Those are some good books to read so that we can be able to see what's going on, address it, look at it in his face, and then we can start to repair it. Just have discussions about it. People don't want to talk about it. We rather talk about sports. We rather talk about what's in the music. Anything to get you away from what's going to make white people, whatever makes white people uncomfortable, that's the very thing that you should be tackling and addressing.
Right, right. And so, family, the book that I referenced, that activity was called Slavery, the African American Psychic Trauma by Sultan A. Latif and Naima Latif. So I just wanted to say who wrote this book in case you
Right.
guys want to pick it
And I
up.
also want to add one more book to it. Are You Still a Slave by Scheherazade Ali?
Oh,
Because
okay,
in that book,
by our queen sister, Scheherazade Ali. Okay.
it's called Are You Still a Slave? And she gives a test, and there, just like that book, she gives a test to see, are you still a slave? You know, a lot of us, we still have abandonment issues because of slavery. That's why a lot of us don't want to see another black person progress, because during slavery, you see another black person progress. Here, that person, that man or woman will be taken from you. They'll be sold. And you're like, nah, you'll downgrade him. Oh, he ain't that good. He's shiftless. He's nothing. He's weak. He's tired, because you don't want them to leave you. So we have these deep cutted abandonment issues that we have to start to addressing as well. But it's called uh, "Are You Still a Slave" by Scheherazade Ali. So y'all write those names down, do your research, do your due diligence, and then we can start to address it.
Okay. A suggestion that I have is that pretty much family, I feel like uh, one of the one of the things that you can do as far as having a fear of white discomfort is to know thyself. Learn about who you truly are. Learn about your African great divine ancestors. Know that you're divine. Because if you don't know that from a start, that you're divine, then you're already going to have some type of insecurities right out the gate. So know thyself, start getting information about who you are, who your ancestors are. And it's important because we are our ancestors. We're a part of their DNA, they're a part of ours, and we know for sure that they existed. And
That's
you
absolutely
can
true.
take that to the bank, you can take that to the street, you can take that to the church, wherever you want to take it to. But the bottom line is, for sure, without any doubt in your mind, that your ancestors existed because you exist. Ashe?
I show you. And then also, understand the reason why they first they like you said they took the chains off us physically because they knew that they put them on us psychologically. But the reason why they put them on you physically is because you was God in the beginning. They had to ungod you. Once they convince you that you're not God, that they're God, it's okay to let them go because he's going to serve me and not himself.
Right. And so, Metsu, do you have anything to add extra before we close?
I would just have people to just write those books down, do some reading, do some looking in the mirror, examine yourself. Start saying to yourself, I am an African. Identify yourself for who you is, your landmass, what belongs to you. And then you begin to see what happened to you, why it happened, when it happened, who did it, and how you can correct these errors. Until we start to do that, we won't continue to stay in the situation we're in. You cannot heal from something that you don't want to address.
Ashe. With that being said, family, this is the voices of my aunt. I want to say Dua, which means thank you to our founder and Baba Saber of the Temple of Heharu, Amari Sneferu. I also want to say Dua to in our divine Saber Pianki and Koza Yamakoza Kozi, which means King of Kings. Our Saber Pianki Patamatula Nefra Amin Ra. I want to also say thank you to my co-host, my divine brother Metu the God and Saber Initiate for the Temple of Heharu. Also, I want to say dua to our elder Rini Ankh Mok Haru and our Queen Elder Regina Dennis Nana.
Ashe.
Also, family, until the next show, stay African, stay safe, stay peaceful, stay in love with yourself and others. Stay woke and Shem Imhotep. That means go in peace.
Shemem Hotep.